Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, this evening we have a few items to address. First one is for the public regarding the townwide property evaluations that have been done. I don't know about the other selectmen, but I've received quite a few calls, asked a lot of questions. The Board of Assessors has put together a letter which I think will explain it all, but if anyone has any questions, please feel free to contact us. M&N Assessing Services has recently completed a town-wide cyclical revaluation for the 2019 tax year. Value conclusions were reached through careful analysis of recent market sales. The conclusions represent the property's estimated market value as of April 1st, 2019. The values were not reached by simply multiplying each assessment by a certain percentage increase. One reason this cannot be done is that different property types are strata. For example, vacant land, mobile homes, condominiums, residential, commercial, industrial, typically show different percentage change over time. Other factors that influence individual rates of change include physical data correction, new construction, demolition, property location, and current market preferences. Most properties saw a significant increase as a result of the revaluation. A key analysis consideration is the relationship between the assessed values as compared with the fair market sales price of the same parcels. The clear and consistent trend was that property sales far exceeded the existing assessed values. Consequently, assessment increase was necessary. Perhaps the most important revaluation consideration is that your property is reasonably assessed when compared with recent market sales in town. Even if your old to new percentage change is not the same as others that you are aware of. Once again, the overall town-wide value has increased significantly. Generally, when this occurs, the new tax rate decreases in an inversely proportionate manner with the overall value increase. The state normally sets the new tax rate by the month of November. A main component to setting the new tax rate is the new townwide value. I guess in summary, the way I've been explaining it to people is the town and the school and the state and the county take X amount of dollars to operate, and you, the voters, vote that in each March. So with that dollar value coming out of the taxes, if the valuation of the property goes up, then, as the letter stated, the tax rate adjusts to that to equal the amount of funding required to support the budgets for the town and the school, and the county and the state. So, in maybe another couple of months, we should be hearing from the state on what that new tax rate would be based on the property valuations for the town of New Ipswich. We did, the Board of Assessors did request an extension on getting that valuation to the state because of the valuation cycle that we were in, and that was granted. So hopefully there won't be a delay in getting the tax rates. Good enough. Something that I had asked Joanne to put back on the agenda, we discussed last week the 283 Greenville Road property about potentially going to tax deed, which we had voted to proceed with.
Mm-hmm.
John, I went and read that article that you forwarded.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to reconsider that, because the article did say it is a 3-year time period. But more importantly, there was a statement in there that says that the selectmen should consider the environmental impact on that property, because they were talking, when you tax deed it, you become the owner of that. And looking at the potential cost to do that, I've been thinking it may not be prudent to take it at this point in time. We can require that they secure it, and if they don't, I think the town has the obligation from a safety point that we could go forth and have it fenced in and attach a lien to the property in case it ever does get redeveloped. But I don't know that we should be going to become that landowner knowing that there was asbestos involved in the house. And I don't know what your thoughts are on, we're already $30,000 in the hole on the taxes. By taking it, I don't think we're gonna recoup that money. And
I don't see us recouping the money no matter what.
that's how I looked at it. So what is the benefit of becoming that property's responsible owner?
I believe the reasoning during our discussion was that we would not recoup the full value, but we would recoup a portion of the value, something perhaps $10,000 to $15,000 worth of property value if it got sold. Question on the environmental concern and getting into asbestos, since I've dealt with asbestos before and it gets expensive and messy. Should we send somebody in there to evaluate this before we take another vote one way or t'other?
And that's what I was thinking, but not at, in other words, don't deed it at this point in time. Leave that window open, that do the due diligence beforehand.
But should we know what we're dealing with, like send the building inspector over there and have him just...
I don't think
walk
the
away?
building inspector's gonna know. I think
Okay.
we need to send in an environmental company that can identify, hey, this is what it is, this is what it's gonna cost you to clean it up.
I'm just wondering how much more cost we're going to incur here, because those guys aren't cheap.
They're not. And that's why I'm saying, if we take over that property, then we have to do it.
Right.
It's not when and if.
Okay.
And I'm not comfortable exposing the town to that type of,
Okay. I don't think asbestos is migratory per se. I mean, it's not likely to wash into the Sauhegan or something like that.
it does if it's disturbed. If it's
Right.
left intact, it's fine. But whereas it was shingles that are now on the ground, if somebody walks on them, they break. That's considered disturbance. See, if you leave it all intact, you can cover it up.
Do we even need somebody to tell us we don't want to get into it?
I guess my issue is, again, this goes along the lines of, do we only tax deed properties that are valuable to the town? Or do we hold all people equally accountable for their tax bills?
So what are you going to gain for the town by holding them responsible? Because they get off the hook. They're off the hook. You tax deed it, they don't have to pay you that $30,000 because now you own the property. It's up to you to sell that property and get that money back. When we couldn't sell a house for $1 down the street here, I don't know what we're gonna get for that property there.
Okay. Question, I'm trying to look down the road here. And obviously, we need to do what's best for the town overall.
Correct.
You know, and despite, we don't want to let anybody off the hook. What is the likelihood of the current owner to clean that mess up?
I think The only way that that's gonna get cleaned up by the owner is if the presentation that she did showing responsibility as being Eversource's, that would be the only way. From what I've heard and been presented.
Okay.
Other than that, she told us they do not have the financial means.
She did not give us a definite that she was going to pursue a legal claim against Eversource.
Nope.
No, my understanding was she was going to present that presentation that she presented to the board to them because she had not.
Okay. If Eversource is found in some way liable, would we have a claim on a portion of those funds as a lien holder?
That's a good question, Barry, I don't know.
I mean, I'm just trying to recoup
Right.
something.
Well, I'm trying to think what prevents them from taking the money and leaving.
Yeah.
I don't know. We would have to have, involve legal counsel, I think, at that point.
Well, I'm just saying that if, I mean, that presentation looked like it warranted further investigation. And if there is money to be had, I think the town ought to get at least a portion of it, because if they take that money and leave, we're still stuck with that mess down the road. You know, whether we deal with it today or 5 years from today. So, I mean, we're damned if we do and we're damned if we don't.
And it will sit there as an eyesore forever.
Or until we can do due diligence and find out what the cost would be to clean up the place.
And if there's any way we can get a portion of any refund or rebate that Eversource might pay out, or have some way to tap into that, such that it's not, the whole mess is not left with the town.
Oh, man, we would have no recourse on Eversource.
Well, no, if they are being paid.
Right, we have no claim on that. The only thing we have a claim on is that piece of property that sits there.
I think you can attach things.
Yeah, I would think it could get attached. If Eversource is reimbursing them to make them whole on what was lost, and what was lost was in arrears of the taxes, I would think that a court would order that.
I guess my question to them would be, had they had insurance, would we have gotten 1 penny of the insurance payout?
I think
I
we
don't,
could,
why
maybe
we wouldn't have.
we should be able to attach that as well.
Yeah.
I mean, we are equally unwhole right now. You know, we are in a, you know, we've provided $30,000 worth of services, and we haven't been paid for them. But I think we need to ask that question at the very least, and, you know, I agree with you, Dave, that we're never going to get out of this. The question is, how long do we leave it before we act? I mean, yeah, what we're saying is, and I think John is agreeing with me, is that that these people are never, ever going to do anything. It's always going to be a burden on the town, an eyesore, an attractive nuisance, and so on. And at some point, they're going to leave the state, leave the country, go wherever, and we're still stuck looking at that thing. What do we?
We are, but do you want to take ownership of it now? That's the vote we had last week. The vote was yes.
I
Where
think.
we haven't gone to tax deed yet.
Okay, I think perhaps we should do some more due diligence, maybe get in touch with Bart ask if there's any way we could attach any recompense that Eversource provides to these people, somehow put a hook in it in some way. And if there's not, I think we need to figure out what our next steps are. I kind of want to see what we intend to do in the future, given the what the current owner is going to do.
But whereas we would not be able to make an attachment until there was a court case.
Right.
So since there isn't a court case yet, there's nothing that we're gonna be able to do.
A lot of times these things don't even go to court, they just
Well,
come to an agreement.
but what I'm trying to address today is, do we still wanna proceed with tax deeding?
I'm willing to hold it in abeyance, but not indefinitely. And I guess I'm looking for a time frame when we say, enough is enough, we've gotta do something about it.
And then we have to come up with the funds to do that. So that would be, the earliest is gonna be March.
Then let it be March. Let's put it into the budget, that we understand that we have this liability hanging over us and an obligation to do something about it, and make it part of our budget. You know, up front, we need $15,000 to tear this thing down and secure it and get rid of the asbestos, or $20,000, or whatever number, whatever that magic number is. But we can't just hope it'll go away, because it won't.
I don't think we're saying we're hoping it's going away.
Well, I'm hoping it goes away,
That won't happen.
but I know it's not going to happen. You know, the reality is, I think we're stuck with it.
Yeah, I mean, I took the time to read that article more
I
fully,
appreciate
and
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, it's a 3 years, but in that 3 years, we would have to pay any and all back taxes, plus any and all fees incurred by the town. So if we were to tear it down, do whatever, and then they suddenly get this windfall, and they want that piece of property, they have to pay us all the back taxes plus all encumbered funds that we have.
Well,
correct.
I'm thinking maybe we should just do the minimum necessary, i.e. the fencing for now, and then get a number into the,
Which I thought was what we agreed upon last week.
well,
Was
we
it
also agreed on tax deeding.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I think Dave wants to reconsider that, and I'm more than happy to do so.
What, are you making a motion?
I'm waiting for you.
I voted last week.
Okay. I'd make a motion to reconsider the vote taken last week for the property at 283 Greenville Road, and to hold off on going to tax deeding until the board can further investigate the ramifications to the town.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye. Those opposed?
Nay. I just think we're putting off the inevitable. I mean, to me, the big clue was the letter of response to the tax plan
Oh,
didn't even mention the tax plan.
right. Right.
She at no point, she came here and gave us a huge presentation and never addressed the back taxes. Responded to a tax plan without addressing the tax plan. They have no intention of addressing any of that.
John,
So-
I agree with you, but I'd rather grasp at straws than at air. That's basically what we're
I
doing.
just don't want to put the town in a position of liability.
I think we're stuck in a position of liability as it is.
Yeah.
But wouldn't you like to know what that is before you?
No, but what I mean, literally, if something were to happen right now on that property,
Right. We're not liable. It's not our property.
No, people, it's at some point, because we as a town have done nothing to mitigate the public safety on that. So I think it would still end up
We
coming back
put the
on us.
onus on the owner to do that,
And they basically told us they're not going to do it. So
other than the yellow caution tape.
right, yeah, they,
Yeah.
so we have been well informed that they are not concerned about the public safety. So.
Okay.
So. Does that have to be public? Just that piece of it?
This,
Yep. Or is that non-public?
that's non-public, and I believe we already did
Yeah,
that back in
that's what I
March.
mean, but yes,
Yeah,
Oh,
but.
sorry, I didn't.
that's
but
okay.
That's okay.
we may not have had someone present in your position at that time.
Uh,
It's me.
It was, thank you, save your time looking it up.
I said I would.
Uh,
I said I would. I'd be fine doing it. Because I mean, for the most part, it's gonna be done here, and then they'll have their meetings and all.
Well, Joanne did bring up a point the other day, that when we used to have the FAC, they used to do it on their own. And I could not remember whether the full FAC came before the board or whether, I can remember at times where if one of the department heads didn't agree with the FAC, then they would come to the Board of Selectmen to try and get things changed. But
I know the year I did it, we met with the board,
with the board, and that's how I thought we had done it.
like we'd done it
So-
all together, just like we were doing with the budget committee that we all met. But if it was and then if we had questions or anything like that, then we dealt with it otherwise.
So I asked Joanne to put the FAC members on the agenda for next week, let them come in, we can talk to them
Yeah.
how we foresee it, and if they want to pursue it that way, that'd be
'Cause
fine.
again, it's just, that's asking, I mean, because I don't even think that the department heads are required to meet with them like they would with the budget committee.
I remember them doing it.
They do.
They
so-
do.
Yeah.
No, see, the year I was on, I think we all met together. And then I think
what we're trying to do is avoid them having to go to
two
different
meetings, yeah.
Yeah, so I thought if they were amenable to do it the way we had done it when we had the budget committee, then that would work.
Yeah. I personally think that it works better because then all the questions are asked and all the information, they're getting all the information instead of just whatever's funneled through one board
Yeah.
member.
Yeah, good.
And we got enough chairs. Chairs.
So did you send that out already, Joanne, to them?
I only had 2 emails, so I
Okay.
sent those, and then the other 2 I called, so I'm
Okay.
just reading. And I had 2 that weren't, Bob gave me 2 that weren't names. So I had a little bit of trouble.
So do we know anybody yet? Treasurer. We met previously with Nancy and Linda. I was under the understanding that Nancy was staying on until March. She did send me an email this morning saying, no, she's gonna stay on until
December
December
27th.
27th.
Yep.
She wanted to end the fiscal year. Linda had reached out to me prior to that to say that she's still interested in that position. So if we want to proceed with that appointment, just so that she can get her affairs in order. You know, we
Right.
can-
I make a motion that we proceed with that appointment as discussed. And I thought it was a very good discussion we had, and then things changed, so.
Yeah.
My motion is to proceed with the appointment so that we have a good transfer of power there.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah. For once we do things less than chaotic.
Yeah.
Uh, How much time do we want to allow for that transition? Because that would be,
Yeah, I don't think we need 4 months.
Couple weeks perhaps?
As of December 1.
Do we really need a full month overlap?
I would, just with, especially with it being the close of the fiscal year
Yeah.
and such.
All right, that's fine.
That way they can work through that month. She pretty much face anything she might have to face, as well as the close of a year. And
we'll say effective December 2nd.
Sure.
I'm pretty sure she's familiar with the procedures, but
Yeah.
who knows, there may be some unique things.
New police station?
I'm in favor.
I hope so. I took the liberty to draw on the future fire station like you guys had requested.
Okay.
If it, can just stick down the file. Hopefully that will alleviate any concerns people may have, whether we can accommodate it or not, so.
It'll definitely help. However, one thing that came through the grapevine as a result of this new assessment of the residences in town was the perception that if their assessment went up and the perception of the taxes will follow, how will they ever pay for a police station because they now cannot afford it?
Well, when
When they see it, like I said, it's your value goes up and you're assessed per $1,000. The town budget did not go up, so you divide the same number of dollars into the same number of dollars, and you get a lower percentage. And that's the problem. They don't understand it. I mean, and I can understand that, that you get this letter in the mail that says your house is worth, some people said, quite a jump of 60,000 plus, things like that.
Yep.
But again, if you take the dollar amount, you divide it in, the percentage is different, so it drops down. So unless the state decides to go insane,
which
I don't see it
really,
happening.
when you look at the breakdown of dollars, it's
Right.
the state's minimal.
Yeah. Again, the state's
The town
budget
is
is not going to
minimal.
jump up.
It's the school one that.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to say is we need to convey exactly that the tax differential is not being driven by the police station. There will be no differential if the total budget does not change.
The only differential is the budget that changed on the school budget last year.
Right.
So,
But, it does not change
should
our
be-
our proposal for the police station.
correct.
Yeah.
But we need to make that point in our next,
We will make sure
Public.
it's also in the fact sheet.
yes.
My concern was if I were a county resident not being highly tuned into the discussions that have been going on with the police station, and I received something like that, my first reaction would be, oh, they're gonna do a police station and the fire station's gonna follow, cause it says it's future, so why else would they have put it on here? And that, I think, is the challenge of putting that out. We're trying to show it because people have asked, well, could we put a fire station there? Well, this is saying, yes, you could,
Yeah,
and rightfully so, the questions will be
Yeah.
asked.
but that's why one of those pieces that I have on there is making sure that they understand that we do not intend at any point to take on a second bond for the fire station prior to the bond for the police station being completely paid off.
Mm-hmm.
That is two separate projects. One is completed and paid for before we go on to the next.
Okay. This was, I don't know if you guys have read this, but previously, this is the law firm that's handling the case for the town consortiums against PSNH, and they had advised us about putting forth a public right-of-way ordinance, which we haven't done.
Right.
I think this may have been sent out to everybody, or maybe just us, but again, reiterating, we should get that in place.
Do we have a template for that?
They did, they sent us everything we would need, we should have that in the file. What we need though is a letter from someone that is requesting that, I believe is what they had indicated, is a citizen should just fill out the letter and get it to the board.
To petition the town?
Yeah. This billing for that I want to read further, because I'm not, so
Yes.
that was part of it.
Yeah, it's broken
Uh,
up.
The other item I had asked Joanne, is it next week or the week after? Next week, if we could meet with the Board of Assessors, who I think were the driving force in having the town piggyback with the other towns on this utility suit. And if you saw the letter in the file last week from one of the consultants for what they're estimating the town of New Ipswich legal portion will be for next year.
Mhm.
Well, if you've been following it, it's supposed to be going to court in November. And this has been going on, I think, for a while. I'd like to have that discussion with the Board of Assessors for, do we just let that lawsuit go through and live with the decision, or are we gonna keep funding this? Don't know what your thoughts are.
I think we should investigate the particulars and do what's ever in the best interest of the town. You know, I mean, do we stand to make money, or do we stand to lose money on this thing?
In which case,
What do we what do we gain if they
right now, the
litigants win?
methodology that's used to do the assessments on the utilities within town is what that presentation to the Board of Land and Tax Appeals went to them. They found in favor of the methodology that the towns were proposing, it's my understanding, of which the utilities opposed in, they have the right to do so, so that's what goes to court. And that's supposed to be going in November, and I thought, well, if it's gone to one, it goes to the second, hopefully that resolves it. By the same token, this past legislative session, there were supposed to be some bills put forth for how it would be done, and I, to be honest with you, I didn't follow through with whether the bills passed or
Now,
not.
I just wanna know
Yeah.
how much money we're talking about. Are we talking $10,000, or are we talking $100,000?
Well, we don't, that I can't tell you, the Board of Assessors should be able to tell us, but the other, important thing is that, as Jim Coffey had explained, if I understood him correctly, right now, we get, the fee from Eversource. Well, you have Comcast, you have Consolidated Communications, and Eversource. Now, Consolidated, I'm thinking must be paying part of that because some of the poles are theirs. But I believe the cable people get off, and I think on this valuation, that might come into play. But I just thought it would be a good discussion for the board. I know I'm not as astute on where this legal proceedings are going. I'm hoping they are, and if not, then we'll have to put that one to bed. So,
Sounds good to me.
we'll see if they can come in next week.
Yep.
Any other new business, old business?
Got a couple small things,
Yeah.
just information more than anything else. The planning board wrote a letter to Mr. Litchfield regarding Green Farm Road, Jacqueline Drive. Apparently he hasn't done anything in about a year out there. There's about $20,000 worth of outstanding work still to be done before the road can be accepted and turned over to the owners and eventually perhaps accepted by the town. We have an outstanding bond of $169,000 currently, but he's been invited to meet with the planning board on the 4th of September along with the homeowners association at the planning board meeting.
What type of work does he still have to complete?
The driveways is the big part, the stone bounds, I think there's a sign missing, and I think he has to provide an as-built plan. So, there's 4 or 5 items there that just need to be addressed. He did back up the berms, and it looks, I took a walk up and down the roadway, it looks like it came through the winter okay, with minimal damage, but there's still some odds and ends. The other thing is that on the 7th of September, they're going to do a balloon test for that cell tower that I mentioned previously in the morning, I think from 8 o'clock to 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. They're going to run a balloon up 175 feet, and everybody's going to drive by and see if they can see the balloon. According to the presenter, it's not visible from any of our local roads. We'll see. So if you see a balloon up there, you know what it is. And that's all I have.
I was gonna ask you one question regarding the planning board. Did you get a chance to address,
I did. And it will be taken up at a later session according to Mr. Schaumoffel. When that is, I could not say. But it's at least been presented to them.
Is this the master plan?
the commercial zoning?
Both,
Commercial zoning.
both the master plan and commercial zoning.
Okay.
You know,
Okay. All set?
All set?
All right, we got a motion to go into non-public?
Motion to go into non-public under RSA 91A3, the hiring of any person as a public employee.
Second. All in favor?
Uh,
Aye.